So welcome back to part 2 of the 2025 October mock draft. So this is part 2, the second round and beyond. Part 1 was released, I think it should have been released on Thursday afternoon. So make sure to watch that before you watch this. But that was the first round, now we're doing the second round and beyond, so we'll get straight into it. So just a reminder for all of you who for some reason haven't watched part 1, this draft doesn't have any trades in it, so we've obviously had trade period and free agency conclude. I don't want to do any pick swaps because they're way too hard to predict and very dependent on what clubs are thinking, and obviously I have no inside knowledge, so I'm not going to try and guess that. But I think the best way to do this is just to stick with the current order. I've done bids and I've done matched bids, so there will be leftover picks from those bids as well. We saw that with pick 18 going to Carlton for Harry Dean in the first round. So yeah, that's probably the only notice. So we'll get straight into pick 25, of the first pick of the second round. And I've got the North Melbourne Kangaroos taking Blake Threadgold. So this is a key defender that North Melbourne have neglected to take for years, but this is the perfect opportunity, I think, in an even draft to take Threadgold, who missed the start of the season with injury, but really showed in the second half of the season what he's made of. Last year, he was really impressive with his interceptability and his ability to win one-on-ones. I think he's 194 centimeters, so he's not a monster key defender, but you can think of him as a Jacob Wiedering if he can bulk up. The player who can lock away the opposition full forward, but then also intercept when it's time to go. So, yeah, North Melbourne land Threadgold. I think he complements Pink quite well. I think Pink as a fullback and Threadgold as a centre halfback / third key defender, and you've got Comben then as well. I think it starts to build a really nice key defensive post, and then also you've got Will Dawson as well, who I just forgot about. So yeah, that starts to build a really nice quartet of key defenders, and I think North Melbourne can be really happy with that going forward. And they follow that pick up with pick 26, which addresses their other issue, which is their lack of key tools. And I've got them picking Archie Ludovic, who has also been injured for a lot of the season. So this time, the back half of the season has been affected. So he came into the season as a top 10 contender, but I think that injury will significantly affect his stocks because in his first couple of champs games, or his only champs games of the season, he was pretty poor. I think just Metro wasn't very good, so they weren't able to feed him the ball as well. In the CTL, he was very impressive, but CTL is a bit of a different kind of standard. So yeah, I think he falls a little bit, and if he gets to North Melbourne at this point, then it's an absolute steal. So getting Threadgold and Ludovic, I think, automatically addresses a lot of North Melbourne's problems with their rebuild, and it really complements that midfield group that's already growing. So don't think they need any more midfielders. So yeah, these two key posts, key position players will take them forward. So there's a bunch of picks here being swallowed by bids. So we move straight on to the Bulldogs at pick 27, and they take Harley Barker, who again is another injury-affected player. Did an ACL, so he won't even play, I think, the first few months or first couple of months of next season. So I think the Bulldogs will be happy to take a high upside outside player here. Barker offers them a different element to their midfield. They've got a lot of inside mids, contested ball winning mids, but they don't really have outside polish or speed. And I think Barker offers that in spades. He's one of the fastest players in this crop. He's also quite tall, 189 centimeters ish, so he fits that modern prototype of tall winger who can get back into defense and intercept overhead. So if you combine that with elite speed that Barker has, then he has the potential to be a very, very good winger in AFL level, and he could eventually even move into the midfield if he builds that inside game out. Then at pick 28, the Eagles are on the board, and I've got them bidding on Carlton's Jack Eisen. So Eisen is a very impressive player. I think he's being severely underrated, and I'm pretty sure Carlton fans will be very aware of his talents. 190 centimeters, and he's a really good ball user as a forward mid. He's probably his one kind of deterring factor would probably be his clearance work. So with a player of his size as a midfielder, you expect him to kind of be that bull who can win clearances, but he's very classy on the outside. Probably needs that development, but with Hewitt, Cripps, and all those types of players like Carlson, I think he would have no problem developing that side of his game, which would round him out as a player, and I think he'd instantly slot into the Carlton lineup in 2026. Then at pick 29, the Eagles take their own pick, and this is Matt Larray. So pretty similar to Barker and Ice, maybe even just a mix of them. Like he's 190 centimeters ish, and he's an inside player. He played a bit of inside in the Waffle reserves, and then Waffle under 18s, and then played wing in the Australian team, and then also in the champs. So he can play inside, outside. He's a good ball user. He's a bit of a slower mid, so you'll expect him to really dominate at clearance, and then on transition, he should be able to get around the ground with his tank. So he's not going to be that burst mid that you see with Harley Reid, Elijah Hewitt, etc. But you'll see a guy who can use the ball quite well, and he's very versatile. So you can play him anywhere between the arcs. The Giants then bid on their crosstown rival academy player Lachlan Carmichael. So Swans matched this bid for a player who's a very good decision maker, very good kick by foot. He's also a pretty good intercepting player for a player of his size. I think he's only like 6 foot or 6'1", so he's not the tallest, but he can definitely be relied on to intercept and rebound. A very competitive player as well, so eventually I think he can move into the midfield, but he's more of an outside player at the moment, so you're going to have to develop his midfield craft and contested ball winning. But if he's able to develop that side of his game, then I think he has a lot of the required attributes to be an elite player in the AFL competition. And then for the Giants following up their bid on Carmichael with their own pick at 31 on Rory Wright. So very similar player to Carmichael, both halfback mids. Rory Wright probably has more runs on the board in the midfield through the Coates Talent League, but he's also a very good user off halfback. He's got that midfield craft to an extent, and he's pretty mature body for a player of only like 6'1" as well. So he is picked. I think will start at halfback at AFL level with his left boot. He can pierce through lanes as well. Bit inconsistent with his kicking, but overall he's a very damaging player when in full flight, and then obviously can move through the midfield in the future. I think become pretty similar to Zach Merritt. I think is the AFL comparison for him. And then the Demons are up next with pick 32, I think, and I got them bidding on Collingwood's key forward prospect, Zach McCarthy. He's a key forward with good hands overhead, mobile as well. He can also roll through the ruck. So I think the Mason Cox delisting really indicates that they're going to move into McCarthy and allow him to develop potentially even at AFL level in 2026, even though he is a key position forward and quite raw. So he'll get the opportunity at Collingwood. And the D's follow up with their own pick at pick 33 with Latrell Sumner Pickett. So this is not because they already have Cozzy Pickett. I think he's a player who will offer them X factor in the forward half. He'll free up Pickett to play through the midfield. Obviously, they've lost a lot of dynamism with Petrarca leaving, and I think Pickett is a player who, Cozzy Pickett will be the player to pick up a lot of that slack to the midfield. So obviously they'll need that X factor small forward, and I think Sumner Pickett really gives that spark. They've also lost Charlie Spargo as kind of a pressure forward, and I think Pickett has that ability with his speed and his ability to apply pressure to fill that role as well. So kind of killing two birds with one stone here, but I think he's a really good fit for the Demons, and I guess just being related to Cozzy is an added benefit for the Demons here. Pick 34, I've got the Tigers bidding on Brisbane's Time Printable. So this guy's a really damaging left boot user, midfield forward. Can play half forward as well, but mainly through the midfield. He's already quite a mature body, so he's just another player that the Lions will benefit from through this academy system. But I think he can probably play on a wing early days in his career, maybe a bit of halfback, but I think mainly his ball use through the midfield is what's going to hold him a good stead at AFL level. So I've got the Lions matching the bid for him here, and then the Tigers follow that up with a pick of Blake Ocean-Benia. So I rate this guy really highly. Haven't been able to kind of find a team that needs a player of his type, but I think Ocean-Benia could easily go in the first round of the draft if a player identifies him as a need. But he's a really strong inside mid with elite ball use, and he's also got the speed to exit out of stoppage. He's got that burst, and that's what the modern day midfielder needs. If you have good ball use and you can burst through stoppage, then that will really hold you well at AFL level. He's also got that defensive pressure, so he applies tackles at the stoppage. So he's a very well-rounded player. He did all this season while playing with a fractured collarbone. So he's only got another level to go to as a player. I think he also missed like the first few games of the season as well with injury. So he's had to be quite resilient. But his performances on field, I think he definitely deserves to at least be in the kind of first half of the second round, if not in the first round. Geelong are up next, and I've got them doing a couple of bids here. So first on St Kilda's Kai Fincher. So Fincher, as Saints fans will be well aware, is going to be the main player we target at this year's draft, and he's a halfback who can also roll through midfield. He played a lot of halfback in the champs and also to start the CTL season, but then he also rolled through the midfield, not only in the second half of the Talent League season for the Dragons, but also when he played at VFL level for the Zebras. So he had like 26 touches for a best on ground performance in the VFL. So very impressive. He probably doesn't have the upside of others. He's probably just going to be that. I don't even really know like what's his long-term position. Like that's a pretty, I guess, negative indicator, which is why he slides out a little bit more. But I think he can be a bit more of a dynamic transition mid. He won't have the electric speed to exit stoppages, but I think he definitely has a role to play, maybe even off halfback, similar to Jack Sinclair has over his career. And then the Cats bid on Gold Coast's Kobe Colston. So he's a half forward / midfielder, really good ball user as well. So the Suns get Patterson, Newland, and Colston all as really nice ball users in that midfield. But he's a really smart midfielder as well. He's got a really high footy IQ, and he's extremely clean at ground level. He also is a competitive player who tackles a lot, so you can expect to see a really solid work rate from Colston at AFL level. I think for the Suns Academy he averaged around 29 disposals in the CTL, and then in the champs for the Allies he averaged 24 disposals. So he's another player who will just rack up the ball, and I think he slots straight into the Suns squad with ease. And then at pick 38 I've got the Geelong Cats finally taking their own player, and that's Liam Heatherton. So he's a player who's missed a large portion of this season as well. Probably the second best key forward prospect in this pool, but we just haven't seen it that much because of his injury. So I think he missed the entire champ series, but he did start the season really well. I think he kicked 11 goals from his first 3 games of the Coast Talent League season. So he had a huge start to the season and probably had himself in the late first round contention, but yeah, obviously that injury has caused him to slide a little bit out. We move straight into the next pick for West Coast, and I think this will be their final pick of the draft. So I've got them first bidding on Gold Coast's Bo Adensall, so quite similar to Colston, another kind of smallish midfielder who racks the ball up. So Adensall arrives at the Suns, and then the Eagles bid on Sydney's Harry Kyle. I think this is a bit late for Kyle even. I think at pick 40, he could easily go early second round, late first round even, if a team is prepared to take the punt. But I think he was also top 3 or top 5 in a lot of the combine results, in I think 3 of them. So I think maybe 20-meter sprint and then agility and then one of the vertical jumps. So he is an exceptional athlete. He uses the ball quite well as well. And he's also quite tall. I think he's 188 centimeters or something like that. So he's another player who suits that modern prototype as the modern day winger. So he'll have that breakaway speed. He can eventually roll through the midfield as well with his athleticism and power through the middle. And the Eagles take their own pick, and I've got them directly taking Charlie Banfield here. So I think this is around his range, and I don't think the Eagles will want to take any more players I guess for the senior list through the National Draft. So I've got them taking Banfield here at 41. Had a huge finish to the Colts waffle season, and I think he was like best on ground in a couple of the finals. So he's 192 centimeters as a midfielder. So Yeah, he can also go forward and kick plenty of goals, as we saw in the Waffle Colts and also the Champs to an extent. So, yeah, I think he averaged like 22 disposals in the Waffle Colts, and I think, yeah, won best on ground in the grand final for I think his 28 disposal 2 goal performance. So into the third round now, and I've got at pick 42 Collingwood bidding on Fremantle's Toby Wan. So Wan is an explosive inside mid. I think he's like 6 foot, 6'1", but he's got that speed to burst from stoppage, and he's also just really well built as a player. So if it was for any other midfielder apart from Frio's, which already consists of Sarong and Brayshaw, etc., I think he'd be a player that you could slot straight into the midfield. But yeah, I think he can also play a bit off half back as well with his speed. And then also his ball use is quite good as well. So yeah, I think the Dock is definitely a match a bid here for one. And the Pies then take Riley Onley. So 194 centimeter midfielder, I believe. So he's a player who can win clearance and win contested possession, as a lot of these tall midfielders can do. You can also transition, so he's a good user of the ball on the outside, and you can see games where he accumulates a lot of score involvements because he gets involved in transition and is also usually the player who's the first extractor from stoppage. So I think that, yeah, the one knock on his game is that he just doesn't defend as well as others, mainly probably due to his lack of speed, but he can also just build up his aerobic ability, I think. So yeah, I've got him sliding out to the third round, but I think Collingwood could really do with another developing tall inside mid behind Ned Long, who I don't know if he's a long-term solution, pardon the pun, but yeah, Only I think would be good cover for him going forward. North Melbourne are up next with pick 44, and I've got them taking Max Kondogiannis. So I'm really going all in on these key position players for North Melbourne, but Kondogiannis is a raw third tall defender. So I've already taken Threadgold as more of that lockdown player, but Kondogiannis is a shorter 190 centimeter key defender who can play on smalls. He's a good user out of defense as well, and he's compared himself, I think, to Toby Travalia. If you think back to last year, who was more of that line-breaking halfback. I think Kondogiannis has those types of elements to his game, but I think you can expect him to intercept a bit more in the air with his extra height and his overhead ability. So yeah, I think North Melbourne could use him as kind of a hybrid key defender type, who can not only defend, intercept, but can also rebound coming out of D50. Up next are the Crows, and I've got them bidding on Essendon's Hassan Alaka with pick 45. So he's a goal kicker, that's what he is. 171 centimeters, so very diminutive forward, but that doesn't mean he's going to have the best footy IQ you can expect. And yeah, so he's got forward craft, he's got goal sense, and he's also very physical, so he's going to be able to shake off opponents despite his small size and be really competitive. He's also extremely quick, so you can expect him and Kako to form a really strong duo in the forward half, deep forward half, and Adam Swade delivering it inside 50. He probably lacks a little bit in the defensive pressure side of things, which I think is something that he needs to work on to make it at AFL level. I think for a player of his size, if he doesn't have defensive pressure and his only kind of AFL attribute is goal kicking, then I don't think yeah, it would be quite hard for him to make it without that defensive side to his game. So yeah, I've got him sliding out a little bit, but I think in the end, if he gets that defensive pressure up, then he can be a really damaging player at AFL level. At pick 46, I've got the Crows taking Hugo Mukunda, who is a forward half player again, half forward / midfielder, very strong in the core. So he's gone through quite a bit of adversity the past couple of years. I think he suffered an injury last year, and then I think to finish this season, to start this season, I think he suffered an injury as well. So yeah, he's a good ball user. He's got good speed, but he can burst through midfield, which is, I think, the main appealing element to his game, which is break out at the front of stoppage and deliver inside 50. He played in the VFL for Werribee in a game, and this was against Southport. So Southport obviously made the grand final in the VFL, and think he gathered like 15 disposals off half forwards. So he's already shown that he can do it against senior bodies, and I think Adelaide could do with another one of these half forwards, since I think they've delisted quite a few. So to add a bit of youthful freshness to that forward half, I think, yeah, and then eventually move into the midfield will complement this side quite well. And then at pick 47, the Blues take Taylor Byrne. So this is another damaging forward half goal kicker. So he's shown the ability to, in the champs, I think he's really rocketed up draft boards in the champs with his Vic Country performances. So he's kicked multiple goals in multiple games and shown that he can find ways to kick goals. Doesn't need to be the most conventional way, but he's powerful as well. So as a kind of half forward type, you can expect him to break through packs and really be able to finish his work. So I think Carlson again can do with another one of those types of players in the forward half, in addition to Jack Eisen, who's already coming in. So yeah, I've got them taking Byrne at pick 47. And at pick 48, I've got Collingwood taking Avery Thomas, who is an athletic intercepting defender. He's not the tallest, but he's got exceptional speed and explosion out of the back half, so you can expect him to slot into the AFL side. He's quite similar to, I guess, Isaac Quainer to an extent, where he's able to intercept while locking away the opposition small forward. And then he was also able to attack with his speed and ability to use the ball by foot. So yeah, I think he'd be a project behind Isaac Quainer, and he'll obviously be a risk to be poached by Tasmania when they come into the league. But yeah, I think he could easily go in the second round with his athletic ability. So I think at pick 48, this is a risk worth taking for Collingwood. Then at pick 49, I've got them taking another athletic prospect in Taj Murray. So a forward ruck, so I guess similar to Zach McCarthy to an extent, but you can never have too many key forwards, and yeah, in a side that's just lost Myercheck and they've delisted Cox, obviously. I think Murray offers that athletic forward half ruck player, so 199 centimeters. He's very mobile around the ground. He's probably got a bit to work on in terms of his strength and his field kicking, but I think goal kicking is a tick, and then his athleticism is a tick. So with that to work with alongside McCarthy, you can have one of them staying as a permanent full forward and the other one rolling through the ruck and as a second tall forward. So I think they could be able to form a really nice partnership up forward. And I don't think Collingwood need too much support elsewhere in the ground in terms of young players. So yeah, I think investing heavily in that kind of forward ruck position will be able to benefit them quite well going forward. And into the fourth round we go. These are the last few picks of the draft. So Hawthorn are up first, and they take Sam Allen, who is an outside winger type, so 182 centimeters. He ran, I think, a sub 6 minute 2-kilometer time trial, and also was first in the running vertical jump. I think he jumped like 100 centimeters plus. So it was a very impressive performance by Allen, and I think this athleticism, again, as a modern winger, will be able to get him selected in this national draft. And I think Hawthorn, they don't really have that wing spot unlocked or locked down yet. So I guess they've got Massimo D'Ambrosio on one side. I think Allen is someone who can probably play in his first season as an outside player. He's obviously got that athleticism to separate himself from other players in the AFL system. So yeah, I think this is a good pick for the Hawks to complement Ambrosio on the outside. And at pick 51, St Kilda are on the board for the first time in the open draft. And I've got them taking Hunter Holmes. So this is a purely speculative pick. He hasn't really done much at all in kind of the champs and in the talent league. He did average pretty decent 20 disposals in the talent league, and then I think in the champs he averaged like 14 disposals. So with his he doesn't have that proven football ability, but I think his kicking is good, and I think his like stoppage work and stuff could do with a bit more work in his positioning, but his athleticism is much like his big brother Max Holmes, and obviously their mum as well, who was a Commonwealth Games gold medal winning sprinter. So with those attributes in mind, I think with his ability to perform 2.89 seconds in a 20-meter sprint, and from the way he plays, I'm pretty sure he has a decent tank too. So I think Ross Lyon and the St Kilda recruiting staff would be happy to take him as a Bayside player as well. So adds another layer behind that wing spot, wing depth. We've probably got a few question marks over that spot with our youth and who's going to replace Bradley Hill and Mason Wood going forward. We've got Darcy Wilson, obviously, but I think there's plans to play him through the inside mid a bit more. So I think Holmes can also start off half back a little bit to start his career, which is also a position that we probably need a bit more support in. We've obviously got Fincher coming in too, so wouldn't be surprised if we went for a key forward here. But I don't think like we have any good key position players on the board left over here. So it could be Cody Curtin, but I much prefer going for the upside in Hunter Holmes. And then at 52, I've got the Demons bidding on Gold Coast Jai Murray. This might be a bit late for a bid on him. I think he definitely got a bit earlier. But he's a very solid medium defender slash midfielder. He's able to win the ball. He's really good one-on-one as well. He's very competitive. So I think he will probably slot into the back six of the Suns if he plays AFL footy. He's a really good ball user out of 50 as well. So it's just another version of like Bodie Yuland, I think. So player who can defend and then also get on the attack. Maybe Sean Lemons as well, who's recently retired. So Murray slots straight in. I think he could play quite early with his mature body. So Melbourne now take their own pick, and I've got them taking Fred Rodriguez here. Dual-footed midfielder who slid all the way out here. He came into the season as a top 10 contender, but with WA being so poor, and I think his performance has suffered a little bit. So any team that selects him this late in the draft will have an absolute bargain. But he's a very good ball user. He's a hard runner as well, so he gets from contest to contest. I think his one question mark is his ability to damage the game. So is he able to hit those really damaging kicks into the corridor and break games open? He doesn't really hit the scoreboard either, which I think is another concern. But and he's also not one of the best clearance winners in the crop. So he doesn't really have a standout attribute. I think the most attractive part of his game is his dual-footed ability and his ability to use the ball on either foot. That's probably not enough to catapult him into the top rung of the draft. So at this point, if he is able to develop the damaged side to his game, then I think any club that takes him here will have an absolute bargain. Up next are the Bulldogs, and I've got them straight up just taking Will Darcy. So this would definitely be their last pick of the draft, I think, with their senior list spots. So I don't think they'll want to take anyone apart from this. So if a bid comes in for Darcy later than this, then I don't think they'll be able to match the bid. So I think they'll just directly take him at 54, just to avoid the risk of trying to get into the rookie draft and then a team bids on him. So Darcy, unlike his brother, is a key defender. He's really clean, mobile as well. He's a good user out of the defensive half for a 198 centimeter key defender. So I think you can kind of develop him as a Mac Andrew type. Start him as a third or fourth tall back, and I think he is able to slot in there because he's very athletic. So he's probably not going to be exposed by the smaller types at the level. He obviously doesn't have the strength yet. Very wiry type like his brother was when he first entered the league, and probably hasn't played the upper level yet. I don't think he played any champs games, and at Coates Talent League he only averaged like 6 disposals. So he doesn't have the proven ability at the upper levels, but he's definitely got a huge upside, like you've seen with his brother Sam. And Brisbane are up. So I've got a bunch of teams passing. If I missed your team a few picks ago, that's because they passed. But the next few picks are all passing until we get to Brisbane at pick 55. And their final pick of the draft, I'm taking Jack Dalton, who is a two-way diminutive midfielder who won the 2km time trial in the draft combine, so he's an extremely good runner. He's also quite versatile. He's able to play inside, mid, and on the outside. But I think the long-term vision with Dalton would be to be that Lachie Neale successor. Lachie Neale was also taken very late in the draft because of his size and lack of speed and lack of damage. But if he can produce that one wood of just getting from contest to contest and winning clearances, then he's going to be an elite AFL mid. So if Dalton can come into the Lions and develop under Neil, then he could become a steal of the draft. Up next are the Tigers, and I've got them also directly bidding on Louis Kellaway. I feel like these direct bids might just roll into the rookie draft, but I don't think the clubs will take any chances, especially in a weak draft, and they'll guarantee themselves their academy players here or father-son prospects. So he's a player that can win the ball really often, and he's also very clean and consistent, so you can rely on him week in, week out to get his 20 plus disposals. He's also very good defensively, so he's got that ability to apply defensive stoppage pressure. I think his one problem would be his ability to damage forward of the ball. I think that's his main limiting factor, so he's a very safe ball user, usually goes for those short kicks that don't open up the game as much, and he relies on his teammates to do that once he hands the ball off. So that's one part of his game I think he can really develop. He's also got a really weird kicking style, but if it works, then I guess it works. So I've got Richmond taking Kellaway at 56. And then at pick 57, I've got the Lions directly taking Isaac Waller. So he's a 204 centimeter, very raw ruck prospect. Good aerially, he's got good ruck craft, but he just hasn't played enough forward, I think, to prove that he can play forward. So I think Waller could probably go a bit earlier. I think he's got a really good upside, but it will take a few years for him to adjust to the system, I think, with his physicality in his body. So I think he definitely has a lot of upside, especially in the Brisbane program where he can develop. So with the 57th pick going off the board, that concludes the 2025 October mock draft. So plenty of picks. I've gone into a bit more detail than I probably should have with the player descriptions, but hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a comment on who your clubs picked and who you guys would take instead, because I'm always very interested to see who you guys would take instead at each of these picks. Make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for future content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.